Aloha Oddlyites. I'm here with a brand new video. We're going to be looking at the 16 teams that are going to the World Championships and the different groups. Now that we know actually what the groups are, we don't have to deal with my last video, well, how's the groups and the pools and the whatnots and the who's its and the Horton here's the who's and how's and why's. We finally know who's in what groups, so we can go ahead and make our Halo Worlds groups predictions. And a lot of people, they've been looking at the groups, and you see them and you're like, well, obviously the 8 NA teams are going to go through, and some people are like, nah, I got my money on these 2 EU teams, or this team and that team. So I'm going to go through and talk about basically what I think the chances of each team getting out of groups are, because while I am going to go ahead and say I totally think the 8 NA teams have the best chances to all get out of the groups, I won't say it's going to be 100%, so I'm going to move on. We'll go ahead and look at the groups first. And these were the pools. They were what all the groups were drawn for. Each group has one team from Pool A. You'll see CLG, Infused, Immunity, Chosen Squad. And we've got those Pool B, Pool C, Pool D, and they just each drew into a slot in the groups. And Group A is Chosen Squad from Latin America, Excel from EU, Allegiance from North America, and Liquid from North America. So we've got 2 of the lower ranked North American teams in a group with the best Latin American team and the second place EU team. I'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about the groups. Group B is Infused, Exile 5 from Australia, Evil Geniuses and Renegades from North America. And then Immunity from Australia, a team that's been playing together for a long time, head up Group C with Denial, Fab E, and Elevate. It's not Fabe, it is Fab Esports. And then Group D, we've got CLG. So it's already a scary group just looking at that. Then Skyfire from Asia, Epsilon, and Cloud9. So that'll be an interesting group to watch, and I'll talk about it a little bit more here in just a bit. When we look at Group A, which I've already pointed out the teams, the obvious favorites are Allegiance and Liquid, even though they're lower ranked North American teams. Like Chosen Squad, they're from Latin America, they don't really have the highest level of difficulty. They do have an advantage of being close enough to North America that they can play NA teams for decent practice partners, whereas EU teams can't really practice against North American teams due to the amount of latency between the groups. But still, Chosen Squad's chances, they're very grim. Excel's chances, surviving about your odds of surviving a Black Friday riots, and yes, that is a pun because Excel has the player Riots with a Z on his team. The key to an EU upset happening, you gotta pray that God is an EU fan, because otherwise it's not happening this time. For international fame, the non-EU, non-North American teams having a chance, Danny Knight and Dragoniac need to ride the dark horse there. Shout out to Mel Draws from DeviantArt, who I totally ripped this image off from, but I do give Image credit, because I'm not a scumbag. But when it comes to the odds of coming out of this group, I think there's about a 70-30 chance it'll be Allegiance first, Liquid second, or 30% chance Liquid first, 70% chance Allegiance first. And second place, I threw in a 2% chance that Excel will come out. I don't think it's going to happen in the least. Liquid and Allegiance are basically drew the best possible group to get out of group stage for North American teams. And I know there may be some Excel fans out there or some Danny Knight Chosen Squad fans that are like, no, it won't happen. But it's pretty much gonna happen. This is just not a good group for those 2 teams. And I don't really think there is any arrangement of teams that would have really given either of these 2 a shot to get out of their group at Worlds. It's just not a thing that's gonna happen. So we move on to Group B. We've got Infused, Exile 5, Evil Geniuses, and Renegades. Infused chances. I wrote down Pinball Wizard because they've got to rely on tilt to get out of this one. Exile 5's chances about as worthwhile as a baby versus a dingo. If you've ever seen a baby fight a dingo, well, the dingo ate my baby. It's just not a pretty sight. Exile 5 are probably going to get slaughtered by all three teams. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win a game. I wouldn't be surprised if every single Slayer was a stake against them. It's just not a good group for Exile 5. Key to an EU upset. Again, it's all about that RNG tilt-a-whirl. Renegades not always having the most consistent mindsets. Infused have to play to that. They need to come out fast in Game 1. They need to just basically take Game 1 and take control of the series. Kind of like what Epsilon did with their Truth Flag, I believe, at X Games against Renegades. They won Game 1, and just from there, they just took it to Renegades and made sure Renegades never came back in the series. And there's been talk that Ramirez, when he plays in North America, just isn't the same player. So Rami needs to become Kami. He needs to become a god, leave his past woes internationally behind. And for international fame, there's no key for them to have victory. They're going to have to hotwire the car if they want to have any chance. If they want to come away, they need to just flip the script and be a team that no one has ever seen before. It's not going to happen. EG, 95% chance they're coming out of this group in first place. Renegades may finally just get all the pieces into place, and I give them a 5% chance of beating EG at a LAN in the most harrowing of environments of all time, with all that money on the line, all the stress, all the pressure in the world. I think EG will not crumble under that pressure. So I've given them the highest odds to get out of this group. Second place, well, if EG don't get first, they're absolutely getting second. There's no chance EG won't get out of this group. I have Renegades, 70% chance they'll get second. I think they're really good odds that Renegades are going to come out of this. But in the event that we do see an infused upset and they pull an Epsilon and do to Renegades what Epsilon did to Renegades at X Games, then there's about a 25% chance, a 1 in 4 shot that infused will come out of it. And I even think that's a little bit generous. Like, I know it says 25%, but it's really more like 10 to 15. Like, Renegades, they're probably coming out of this group. As much as people want to be like, well, they lost to Epsilon and Infused beat Epsilon, it just doesn't work out that way. And you got to take into account jet lag is a very distinct possibility in this environment, because these players are coming all the way from Europe to Hollywood. It's the far, far west of America. It's a lot of difference in hours, and it really messes with your internal clock. We're going to move on to Group C. It's Immunity from Australia, a team that's been playing together forever with Denial and Elevate, formerly Noble. So if you're very confused on how did Elevate get to Worlds when they lost to Noble, Elevate is the Noble roster. It is still Swiftkill, Calm, Penguin, and Rain. And they're actually going to be coached by Chig, which is an interesting development. And then Fab E is also in the group. Immunity's chances, they just have to survive the hostile environment, all these NA teams, NA fans, NA lands. Fabby's chances, they're going to have to just come in and have fun. It's going to be on Monkey and Speed to do really well. For an EU upset, it's not happening. They also have a player named Kimbo, so I threw down Kimbo Slice. It's still not happening. As much fun as I had playing with their names, that's as much fun as anyone's going to have playing with Fabby, as if they are food at Worlds. For international fame, I put down Hef as the key for Immunity, because I've heard, I haven't seen confirmation, but I have heard that Hef has broken his hand and will not be playing at Worlds. If that's true, it's very, very concerning, simply because he was one of their players that I believe had been playing with them for so long, along with Benno and Voltage, I believe. Like, these players, as far as I know, they've been together since Halo 3, so they have a lot of experience together, and that's one thing that Denial and Elevate have to look out for, because these players simply have such a longer history together than any of the NA teams at this point. So, despite that, I still have Denial and Elevate the likely favorites to come out of the group. Denial, 70% chance. They proved at regionals that with Alumni, they are a crazy force to face. Elevate, still a strong team. And I have Immunity with the 5% chance. I have Denial with a 100% chance to get out of the group if you add the 70 and 30% second place there. Denial are coming out of this group and going to the brackets. Elevate are my question mark, and I messed up my math somewhere along there. That should be a 60% for Elevate, not a 65, and Denial 30 and Immunity 10. The reason I have Elevate as a question mark, Rain has not proven himself on LAN yet, even after regionals. He seems a little bit shaky, and Calm and Swiftkill aren't the most talented of players. They do what it takes to win, and they definitely set up Rain and Penguin to succeed. But if Rain isn't showing the same online consistency when he plays on LAN, there's a very distinct chance that the sheer chemistry from Immunity will be able to overwhelm Elevate in this group and sneak away a victory for Immunity to come through. It's still a very long shot for that to happen. Elevate should get out of this group. It should be 2 North American teams, but there is that distinct possibility that Immunity will come out. And again, this 65 should be a 60. Moving on to Group D, CLG, not even going to lie, they've got a 110% chance of coming out of this group with first place. I have Cloud9 as the other favorite. I think this is the one group that is the highest chance for a team outside of North America to come out of. Skyfire have a better chance finding Dragon Balls. You're going to have to give them a Spirit Bomb if you want them to get out of this group. There's almost no chance that Skyfire will win a game. They're in the same kind of boat as Exile 5. The key for Epsilon to come out of this group, they have to focus on Cloud9. All of their prep needs to go on learning what Cloud9 does and learning how to beat Cloud9. They shouldn't pay any attention to CLG because they're not going to beat CLG. That is a simple fact. They couldn't take a game off Liquid and at X Games, and that was a Liquid that wasn't looking strong at the time. And CLG are, like, even as a Liquid fanboy and analyst, I can't deny CLG are leaps and bounds ahead of Liquid right now. So Epsilon has no chance of beating CLG. They need to focus on Cloud9. They should have the series against Skyfire in the bag regardless. If they can just beat Cloud9, they can come out of this group and get that substantially higher payout. So that's the key for this one. I have it about 65-35 in favor of Cloud9, but either of these teams can beat each other with enough work, enough focus, and just enough tenacity on LAN, so to speak. Still think Cloud9 will come out ahead. Hysteria is called Lansteria for a reason. Cloud and Assault are both veteran players with a ton of experience. Danoxide may get the shakes, we don't know. He didn't do too much at regionals, but he didn't like get completely shut down either. Like, they did take down Dream Team and Optic at regionals, I believe. Triggers Pound did. Cloud9 are Triggers Pound, by the way, if you're watching this video and you're very confused. When do we get Cloud9 again? That's Triggers Pound with Hysteria, Cloud, Assault, and Danoxide. And they've announced that Randa will be coaching them at Worlds. So that's an interesting thing. Randa's actually been praised a lot by the community for his Halo knowledge, so I'm interested to see him transitioning to coach for a tournament. We're going to move on. Those are all the groups. I won't be doing a bracket prediction, so we're just going to close it out by saying Lethal sucks. GG. That's the end of the video. Peace.